Hi there, Alison here with another Cab Franc du jour. Today we are in Anjou and we're looking at the Pierre Ménard 2018 Orion Alpha Anjou Rouge. Pierre got his start in 2013 when he began to vinify grapes from his family's vineyards that are located in the village of Faye d'Anjou, which is 25 kilometers directly south of the city of Angers, just north of the Layon River, actually within the boundaries of the Coteau du Layon appellation. Now the soils here are what we refer to as Anjou Noir, and they're of schistous origin. It's important to note that Cab Franc actually struggles a little bit on schist, and the reason for this is schist does not retain moisture to the same degree that, say, clay or chalk does. And to make great Cab Franc, we really need soils that can deliver a certain degree of moisture at regular intervals throughout the growing season. On schist, Cab Franc can suffer from a bit of hydric stress. This can lead to berries that are a little bit smaller with a higher skin to juice ratio, and this can contribute to tannins that are a little bit more sort of rustic or harsh in the mouth. The hydric stress can also lead to a bit of an imbalance in the vine, and this can lead to excessive vegetative notes, or those pyrazines that I talk about in the finished wine. Now, as a vigneron in Anjou, if you want to make red wine from Cab Franc, site selection becomes very critical. For Pierre, he's working with two specific plots. One is 70-year-old vines on a lighter schistous soil from the Clos de Maille, and this contributes a degree of levity and aromatics to the finished wine. And then the second plot is 12-year-old vines that are on a heavier clay soil of quartz origin, and this gives the wine sort of more fruit, more power, more color, a bit more structure and density. So it's really those two soils combined in those two plots that make this wine the way it is. Pierre is working 100% biodynamically in his vineyards, and this was all hand-picked, handy-stemmed fruit and vinified in barrel. On the nose, I'm getting some really nice sort of darker fruited notes, like plum, a bit of dark cherry, some black raspberry here. And the fruit, it is more fruit forward. That's not to say fruity, but certainly fruit forward as opposed to, say, savory or earthy. So the pyrazines are taking a bit of a back seat here, but they are coming through nicely as sort of this lovely kind of rosemary or mint note. There also is this sort of nice kind of high-toned purple flower kind of aromatics to it, but it's also grounded by something a little bit darker, kind of like tar or cocoa. It's quite interesting. On the palate, this has really nice fresh acidity, and all those fruits come through beautifully. And then there's this nice kind of warming kind of cinnamon note in the mid palate, which I quite like. But I think the story here is really about the tannins and how the tannins feel in the mouth. They're quite broad on the palate, and they have this sort of silky texture in the mouth, and then they finish with this more sort of chewy, kind of sinewy texture, which is really quite interesting. This wine takes up a lot of space, and I hope that makes sense to people, but there is this sort of pull downwards from the schistous minerality. At the same time, there's this sort of pull up from the aromatics and the acidity. And then the fruit and the tannins kind of do this and pull this way. So the wine, it takes up quite a bit of space, and there's this interesting kind of yin and yang thing happening in terms of all those elements combined. There's structure here, there's tension, it's quite commanding, and it is a little bit on the young side. It was probably a crime to open this today. I certainly would say it probably needs at least another 5 years to kind of shed some of that baby fat, but it's a really fantastic introduction to what Pierre is doing. This is only his second vintage of this wine, and it's a really great lens into his style, his sites, and I can't wait to taste more actually going forward. So thank you all so much as always for watching, and I'll be back again soon with another wine. Cheers.